So how, and this is speaking based on your knowledge and experience as an NPS director, how are you supposed to act on the findings and recommendations in this document if you only receive it while you're discussing it?
Typically, such a report does not require a decision at that meeting at that particular time. It's not necessarily an action item at that meeting.
Sure. How can you discuss at the committee level a document that you have not read yet?
Well, if they've had the time, the personal time, if an individual has had the time, or reviewed it, made notes, they squeeze it in some kind of way if they've had a chance to go through the agenda prior, because the fact that an individual doesn't get through the agenda prior doesn't necessarily have to do with it not being posted, because many of the board directors work and they may or may not have gotten to it. That happens.
Okay, so it's your testimony that the Milwaukee Board of School Directors approves items in committee without actually reading the items up for consideration,
That
correct?
is not.
Jeff, the form of question is broad and vague, it's argumentative, calls for speculation, and mischaracterizes her testimony. Go ahead and answer if you can.
That is not what I said. I said that there are several things. This could have been for information only, because in this particular case, what would they be making a decision on? This is simply the report, at which time further work has to be done. It can't be completed during a committee meeting.
Okay. Mark this next one, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
So, you see this document? And we're on, I'm sorry, 12? Okay, and it says, at the beginning, I read agenda, this is the type, Committee on Accountability, Finance, and Personnel, and the date is 3/15 of 2022. You see that?
Correct.
Okay, and then it says committee members, do you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, where do you appear on that?
I'm committee chair.
Okay, and based
Not
on...
now, but I was at that particular time.
I understand. And based on your testimony previously, you would have gotten any document on an item of business at least 1 week ahead of this meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll point you down to item business number 4, please. Okay, and can you read that out for us?
Action on receipt of the fiscal year in 2021 audit reports.
Okay. Now, based on that, do you believe that you received the fiscal year end 2021 audit reports?
I cannot swear by that. I know there were some issues that Dr. Mann was working on with relation to those audit reports. And at this time, I don't remember what the incident was or what the resolution was. I know that we've been working on audits since then.
Okay, but according to this document, you would have had at least a week to review, excuse me, not at all, the 2021 audit report, and let me just pause here. According to this document, and I'm going to repeat myself, excuse me, that you would have had this audit at least a week prior to the 15th of March 2022. Do you recall reading this document in that time?
First of all, I'm going to back to the form of questions. Vague, calls for speculation. Also misstates her testimony. She indicated that there was an issue with Dr. Mann. She may not have received this at that time. Also compound. Go ahead. Why don't we take a break while...
I'm having my sneezing attack here.
I'm okay with that. Let's go through it.
Stand by, we are going off the record. The time is 11:21. This is the Anna Media Unit 2. We're going back on the record. The time is 11:26 a.m. This is the beginning of Media Unit 3.
Can you repeat the question?
This question was...
That's left.
according to this document, you would have had this audit at least a week prior to the 15th of March, 2022.
Same object that I did previously.
My answer is I would have.
Okay. Do you approve all board notes every month?
No,
Okay. Is that something the board does?
board governance does that. And then in terms of the agenda items, in this case, I can speak for this, for the AFP committee as I was chair.
Mm-hmm.
I did, but most people don't.
I understand. Do you know who Margot Anderson is?
No.
Okay. And do you know who what Viterbo University is?
I know it was connected to MPSU in some way, but that's it.
Okay. How do you believe it was connected to MPSU?
I don't really know.
Okay. And how did you learn that it was connected to MPSU?
I don't even remember exactly.
Okay. Do you want to change your previous answers about having no knowledge about MPSU?
Check the foreign questions, private pay.
No.
Okay. If we can get this to 13, please. Are you looking for copies?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'll submit to you that this is an email from Margot Anderson, an employee of Viterbo University, to various employees and directors at MPS regarding Viterbo University School of Education's programs and licensure concerns. Do you see that?
Yes.
And your name is on there, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you've got it both from governance, and then it's got your actual Herndon, Marva, I guess that's Gil Hen J at Milwaukee, etc. Is that you?
Right.
Okay, and you read most of those emails, right?
Yes.
Did you read this one?
I probably did.
Okay, and based on this email, were you able to discern whether MPSU was a part of MPS?
I can tell you that I don't understand the connection. Vertebro is, as it says here, teacher education program,
Mm-hmm.
of which I met one individual as I think about it this spring at one of the schools that when I asked him where did he graduate from, he indicated that he graduated from Vertebro. So,
Okay. And this here is an email to various board members detailing her concerns about Viterbo University and MPSU, right?
Check the foreign questions, broad and vague, calls for speculation. Go ahead and answer.
in this stack, I don't know exactly what all of this is.
Okay. And I'll read here from the first page, this is the penultimate paragraph, and it says, I am aware, as you undoubtedly are aware too, that these issues have already been reported to Milwaukee Public Schools and the DWD as part of an ERD complaint that was found to have probable cause. Did I read that right?
Yes, that's what I'm reading.
Okay. Do you believe that's referring to Teresa Folaron or something else?
Check the foundation.
I have no idea.
Okay. What steps did you take, after you read this and couldn't understand what was in there, what steps did you take to have MPS employees decipher this email for you?
Let me explain that it's not the committee chairs or the board president's responsibilities to manage this in the manner that you keep bringing up. The various departments and the chairs of those various departments are responsible for execution and resolution and execution of these issues. And there's several channels, like I said before, one of them being Office of Accountability. And those audits are supposed to be resolved for them. Now, when these emails come through, and we read them briefly, it is with the assumption that this is gonna be resolved by the appropriate department. That's the reason why when you see our committee meetings, on those committee meetings, you have those chairs right there in back to come out and ask the question, because the execution and responsibility is upon them.
Okay, so let's just talk about the Calvin Furman one, for example. So Calvin Furman sends an exit survey and complaints about Keith Posley directly to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so what body did you think was going to investigate those complaints other than the board?
It would be the HR department.
Uh-huh.
It could be, in some way, shape, or form, Matt Chasen as a Office of Accountability. And HR for sure, and OAE for sure.
Okay, and it's your job as the president of the school board to supervise and direct the superintendent, correct?
Take the foreign questions, Brian Begg, go ahead and answer.
He reports to the board, yes.
Okay. So let's talk about the complaints that that Calvin Furman made against Keith Posley. Why did you believe that Matt Chasen was going to resolve that complaint?
Check the foreign
I didn't
questions.
say
Brian
that.
Begg also misstates your testimony, go ahead and answer.
Okay, how did you think that complaint was going to get resolved?
The resolution of that complaint would ultimately come from the board if there were a resolution needed. And just for it to be a complaint thrown there in an email, the work on that would be done by the audit group.
So, I got that. Before, and I apologize for having to ask these questions, but that's what I have to do. Are you on any medication here today that would prevent you from answering these questions?
I'm not on medication.
Okay, is there any other reason at all that would prevent you from answering my questions truthfully and fully?
Check the questions, Brian Begg, go ahead and answer.
That goes back to attorney privilege. That was the instances where I had to not answer the question.
Okay, so other than your conversations with Mr. Reardon, is there anything else that's preventing you from answering my questions here today truthfully and completely?
No.
Okay. So, and I still am not clear, but what steps did you take when, no, I'm gonna stop that right there and re-ask the question. And it's like this, didn't the board have Horwitz investigate the complaint by, yeah, Mr. Bay?
I have no idea.
Okay. Is, who else but the board could authorize an attorney to do work for the school district?
Well, the board can authorize the attorney.
Mm-hmm.
HR can. And those are the ones that I can speak and verify for.
I got it, okay. And what, are you aware of any school district employee investigating the Calvin Furman letter against Keith Posley?
I have no knowledge of that.
Okay, why not?
I don't know why not. Nobody has approached me with it.
Okay, but so you're clear that you got the letter from Calvin Furman, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you're saying that nobody has approached you with it, isn't that fair? Okay, but you're the president of the board, right?
Right.
So doesn't the buck stop with you?
No, it does not in that instance. That's a personnel matter, in which case it would be going back to HR and probably OAE.
So your suggestion is to have, and just keep in mind here, or let me be clear, you understand that Adria Maddeleni, the head of HR, is subordinate to Keith Posley, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so your solution to a complaint directed against Keith Posley is to have Keith Posley's subordinate investigate Keith Posley, is that correct?
No.
Let me object to the foreign question. Brian Begg compound, and it misstates her testimony repeatedly. Go ahead and answer if you can.
I understand that the board hires and fires the superintendent. But what I'm saying is that these are still employment matters, correct? The board directors are not trained in employment law and all of that stuff. So it would be expected that HR, one would be involved.
Well, how is the board able to vote?
Can you let her finish her question?
Oh, absolutely. Are you not finished? I'm sorry.
HR is, you could count it or call it whatever you wish, but they would collect some information in some way, shape, or form. That would be the expectation. The same thing is true for Matt Chasen. Perhaps he would be involved. It certainly would be part of his job and responsibility, even though it's the superintendent. In which case, whatever they came up with, they would come back to the board with the data, the information. It is then our responsibility to act upon it.
Okay, so it's your testimony here today that if a subordinate of Keith Posley makes a complaint against Keith Posley, then the board has Keith Posley's subordinates investigate Keith Posley.
Check the form of questions, broad, vague, compound,
As
and been asked and
HR,
answered. Go ahead.
as HR, that is their would be their responsibility. We are all sworn to confidentiality and secrecy. That doesn't change that fact, you know, that if they have some responsibility to do along those lines, that the rules and regulations would be adhered to.
Okay, so you believe that somebody from MPS, subordinate to Keith Posley, had the responsibility to investigate Keith Posley,
What
correct?
I'm saying is I don't know if they did or not.
Okay, perfect. Keeping that in mind, you still voted to give Keith Posley a raise, not once, but twice, correct?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Well, no, I'm gonna object. It's been asked and answered repeatedly. Go ahead and answer again.
The first time was several years ago. And then with this time, it's because we felt that he was doing a good job, like I told you before.
Okay, and you felt he was doing a good job, knowing that there were complaints against him that were not investigated, correct?
Check the form of questions. Broad and vague, calls for speculation, no foundation, been asked and answered. Go ahead.
I do not know what, if any, investigation had been executed or not.